Hey everybody, it's the four-gun guy here. And man, it's like Christmas in September at the four-gun guy house. So we've got a lot going on for this rifle. And we're going to start with the barrel, but we've got a barrel replacement, which is this video. And then we have something in this box that's pretty interesting. It's going to replace our trusty Vortex Razor Gen 2. So that's going to be another video, but I'm really excited about this one. So this barrel, which is the Bartline barrel, which came with this rifle, what, about a year ago? I don't even know if it's been a year. I've probably got close to 3,000 rounds through this thing. And I've got to tell you, it is still shooting straight and true. But when I was talking to my buddy Jeff, we both started to realize that sooner or later, this barrel is going to get shot out. And when it does, you don't want that to be in the middle of a match, because all of a sudden you may lose a lot of velocity and you may get some flyers in different directions. So I decided it's still shooting good now, but I did get a preferred barrel blanks barrel. It's a pre-fit barrel that's going to fit into this Impact Precision 737 action. And so since I'm replacing the barrel, or actually it's the opposite, since I got this optic to replace the scope, I decided I might as well, since I'm going to be taking this thing off and putting on a whole nother spur mount as well, because this is a 36 millimeter tube, 34 on this one, I might as well just go ahead and replace the barrel. So that's what we're going to do today. So here's what we're going to go over. I want to start with talking about the tools, since I'm doing this myself. And I've built, my AR, a couple ARs, so I'm familiar with those, but this is going to be a little different. We're going to go over the tools that I bought for the barrel. We're going to review the fit and finish of this preferred barrel blanks barrel. I may even put a scope in this thing to see what she looks like on the inside. We're going to go over removing the old barrel, then we're going to go over installing the new barrel, and that's going to include the muzzle brake there. And then we'll have some final thoughts. So if you're ready to go, let's get started. I had some of the tools, but I had to order some others. I'll put pricing and everything up there as I talk through these. But really, the main tools that you need here are, you need a good barrel vise. I'm really convinced of that. And I'm planning that if this works out, I'm going to be changing my barrels myself going forward anyway. So I invested in a Grizzly Bald Eagle barrel vise. Now they have another model of this. I think it's another model of theirs that has 4 bolts, but I read the reviews. This seems like it's going to do a good job. The other thing that's very important that I wanted to make sure I got was this little thing right here. Now, since I have an Impact Precision action, I went ahead and got the Impact Precision action wrench, and we're going to see how this works. This is actually going to go into the action, and then I'm going to use this to apply the torque for both taking the barrel off and putting the barrel back on. Now, then I already had a torque wrench, so I'm good in that department. But folks, I want to tell you, you need 2 wrenches, okay? You need a torque wrench and you need a regular socket wrench. Do not use a torque wrench to take the barrel off. So please have a good wrench. Now I had one, but I tell you what I like about this one. It extends, so I didn't need a cheater bar, right? So I got this on Amazon, I think, and it wasn't expensive, but I like the fact that I can extend it, and it's kind of a cheater bar on there. And then I had some sockets, but I just wanted to make sure that I was going to have everything I needed. So I got a little heavier duty sockets and some socket extensions and some, I wasn't sure about adapters and all that stuff. So, I just kind of go overboard with this stuff. And then the last thing is the barrel grease. So you want to make sure you get a decent barrel grease. This was off of Amazon. I've seen this used other places. This little tub right here will probably last me 100 barrel changes. That's how little you use. So there's all the tools. Let's set everything up. Oh, and let me just show you what I did here. As you can see, I took a piece of wood because I wanted to use my bench here. There's my notes. I wanted to use my bench here, but this barrel vise was really tight if I just mounted it to the bench. And plus, I didn't want to drill holes in the bench. So I took a nice thick piece of, I think this is 3/4 inch plywood, cut a little piece out of it, bolted this vise to that piece, and now I've got some pretty heavy duty C-clamps here that are holding that to the table, and it extends out. So it gives, I can easily put the rifle in here and take care of all that. So with all that said, let's move on to looking at this new barrel, and then we'll look at installing it. Well, let's look at the barrel. Comes in a pretty standard tube here. Take it out. There's some packaging, and they do a good job of packaging this thing. Pretty stable, pretty sturdy. And I wanted to just unwrap it, show you. So they put it in a nice deal. Now, I got the bead blasted. I just like that look. I didn't go for the, if you look at the barrel that I have on this thing now, it's polished chrome, so I went the bead blasted. It's got their logo on here, so if I kind of come in here and zoom a little bit, maybe it'll come into focus. So it's a 1/8 twist, 6.5 Creedmoor. The fit and finish is awesome on this thing. I've already pulled it out of there. It does come with a thread protector on the front. It's got this thread protector on the back, but just a beautiful barrel. These guys were super helpful. I had a bunch of questions for them every time I emailed them. I called them a couple times. Every time they picked up the phone, they responded to my emails probably within 20, 30, 40 minutes. So the response from these guys was really, really good. So, but the proof is going to be in the pudding, right? When we mount this to that rifle and we start breaking it in and we see how well it holds those groups and everything, that's going to be what's going to make the difference. So let's go ahead and get on to our next section, which is removing that Bartline barrel from the action. Well, there's a lot of things we have to do here to get this barrel changed out. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take the scope off. Now, even if I wasn't changing out the scope, I would still take the scope off. I'd leave it in the mount, and then I'd just remove the mount. Because I've seen a couple of videos with guys who've left the scope on. That just makes me a little nervous. So I would take the scope off. Of course, we're going to take the bolt out, and then we've got the 2 screws down here underneath, right there, here and here, that are actually bolting the action to the chassis. So this is the chassis. The action sits in the chassis, and then we need to take that out. And when we take those 2 bolts off, everything will come out, the barrel with the chassis. Then we take the chassis off the barrel. It's really that way, right? We're taking the chassis off the barrel because the barrel is going to be the thing in the vise. So let me get the scope off. Let me get the action and barrel out of the chassis, and then we'll come back. Hey guys, I thought of something as I was doing this, and I thought I'm gonna video this really quickly. So I'm taking off the scope, and really all I'm recommending is that, how many times have you started messing with your scope and you're trying to hold it with one hand and then you're loosening it and it's falling and all? So just take some masking tape, make a couple turns around it here and here, and now I can just take this thing off. And make sure you unscrew the screws not linearly. In other words, don't go here, 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 here. I've already unscrewed these in a pattern, and then you can unscrew them, serially. But now look, I mean, that thing's just wrangling there, and then all I have to do is do that and do that, and off she comes, right? But I didn't have to worry about it as I was fumbling with unscrewing those things. So just a quick little tip that I wanted to share with you. Let's get that action out of there. Well, here we are. We've got the action out of the chassis, and yeah, pretty simple. As I said, just 2 screws. So here's where you want to be extremely, extremely careful, right? This is a Trigger Tech diamond trigger. These things aren't cheap. So you want to be very careful that we're not going to be banging these things, banging this thing all over the place, all right? So now's also a good time to get into this chassis, get into these nooks, crannies, just make sure that everything's kind of cleaned out, that it's ready to receive the new barrel and action. So let me set the clamp back up. We'll get this in the clamp, then we'll start taking her apart. Well, I have the barrel and the action in the vise. I did wrap a little sheetrock tape around the barrel before I got it down there. And then I have the action wrench in the action. I want to make sure that I've pushed that all the way in. And now I'm going to come in here with a wrench. And you want to make sure you're going to turn this the right way. So let's see if this moves or not. Just broke it free. That just broke free. So let's see here. Now I want to be careful with this trigger. I don't want to drop this thing. So it's out. Pull this thing out of here. I want to be very careful when I pull this out. It has to be rotated the right way, this wrench, and then don't forget, it's built just like your bolt. So you have to handle that bolt catch. And there we go. That is off of the barrel. So, you know, I'm gonna take this bolt, put it in there, just make sure that we're working okay here. That puts a lot of stress on that. It really does. But that's why you buy that tool, right? That is why you buy that tool. So now we've got the barrel off. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get that muzzle brake off too. That's a Sidewinder from Area 419. I'm going to go ahead and take that thing off. I'll get the barrel out of here. I'll probably just turn this around to do that, or I might do it just while it's on here like this. So I'm going to do that, and then we are going to clean the action up a little bit, get the new barrel ready, clean those threads. We're going to make sure we clean those threads really good, and then we'll thread that new barrel on. Well, I'm going to clean this action, and I'm not going to bore you with it, but really what I've done is I've gotten one of these almost like a Q-tip, but it's with the foam end, or actually I think these are cloth ends. And I'm going to do a little brake clean on this, and then I'm going to start at this first thread, and I'm just going to let this thing ride the threads all the way in, okay? So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm just going to make sure that these threads on the new barrel are clean as well, and then we'll go from there. Well, here we go. I have my torque wrench set to 80 foot-pounds. The torque wrench for the barrel into the action is 80 foot-pounds. The screws that attach the action to the chassis are in inch pounds. So yeah, just make sure that you you know the difference, or else you're going to really strip those screws out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and as I said before, this is such a little bit of this grease, and I'm just going to bring it on here, and this stuff can really get all over you. So we're just going to dab it here, get it started in these grooves. You don't need a whole lot of this. You just need a little bit. And then I'm just going to take another little dab. See, it's just a dab. And I'm going to come in here to the action. And I'm just going to kind of swab it in here a little bit. And that should be it. I shouldn't have any left on my finger. Now, I'm hoping I have this thing clamped down enough, but I'm going to start this action onto this barrel. You do not want to strip this thing, folks. So take your time. It should just flow onto that barrel. And that's exactly what it's doing here. There is little to no binding or anything. And now it's coming to the end here. There we are. We're right there. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to take my barrel wrench. There's that, right? I'm going to hand tighten it a little bit. And now I'm going to take my torque wrench. It is set to 80 foot-pounds. I have triple checked it. I'm going to quadruple check it here. Foot-pounds, it is at 80. 80. I'll bring this on. We're gonna That's it. That's it. It broke, we're done. It broke, we're done. So now we have the new barrel on there. Now, I need to put the muzzle brake on, but here's an interesting side story. I couldn't get this thing off the way you're supposed to get this off. This is a Area 419 Sidewinder. I'm probably going to call them tomorrow because, as you can see, this muzzle brake piece should come off of the mount, and it didn't. It's like bound on there. So I don't know if I've shot it so many times it's kind of dry welded to it or whatever, but we'll see. I may have to end up getting a new muzzle brake. So we took the barrel off. We have the new barrel on. We did the 80 foot-pounds, and now we're ready to go. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to, I am going to go ahead and check the headspace on this video. I wasn't going to. Let's get this mounted back in the chassis. We'll have it all set up, and then we'll check the headspace. All right, so we've got the bolt back in. I have a go gauge and a no-go gauge, and I also have just a dummy round. Now these are dummy rounds, folks. They are not live rounds. I use them to practice with. So I'm going to try the dummy round first. I'm going to go ahead and put a magazine up in here. Let's just see what happens here. We have closure, just like a regular round. I'm going to now try the go gauge. Let's put this in here. We have go. That's good. Good. No hang-ups, no nothing. Let's make that out. Now let's try the no-go gauge. No-go gauge, let's see. Oh, we're hanging up right here. Now I could really jam down on this thing and probably chamber that round, but that's the point. You don't want to do that. This is just telling you that things would be bad if that happened. So, wow, this is fantastic. We've got a good chambering. We've loaded the barrel up. We checked our go, no-go gauges, and now all that's left to do is move on to the next stage, which is I need to mount the new scope, and then I need to do what? I have to work up a whole new load for this barrel. So we're going to have to find the lands. So we're going to go through that exercise in our next video. We already checked the headspace, so we won't need to do that. And then we're going to do some ladder tests with different loads. I'm probably going to go back to my H4350 with my Hornady ELD M 140 grain bullets with my alpha cases and my CCI 450 primers. So that's my standard outfit there, and I'm going to stick with it. So the next video, as I said, we will check the lands and see where things end up. Well, there were a few tense moments there, changing this barrel out, taking the old barrel off. It really had to break when I was undoing it. that kind of gave me a little pause there. But everything else went pretty smoothly. I was really happy with how it turned out. So let's talk about what we did. We talked about the tools that I purchased to install, to remove and install the new barrel. Just a few tools, and I put those in there already. We looked at we briefly looked at the fit and finish of this preferred barrel blanks barrel. I'm sorry I didn't get to the scope, but the scope was acting up on me, so I couldn't get into it. I'm going to try to do another video with to look at the lands of this new one before I even fire a shot through it, and then the lands of the old Bart line, just to kind of see how they match up after 3,000 rounds in a brand new barrel. Then I am going to do videos every 500 rounds through this barrel, I promise you, and we're going to start seeing lands erosion. We're going to really start talking about that. I'm very interested in that, just from a numbers game. Just from a numbers game. I just want to see what 500 rounds through these barrels does. They're supposed to wear these barrels down about 3/1000ths of an inch per 100 rounds. That's the average. So we're going to see if that plays out. And then we looked at removing the old barrel. I showed you the vise, the ratchet and all that stuff. Then we looked at putting the new barrel on, and then we checked the head space of the barrel to make sure that it was going to be fine. And now here we are. So far, happy with how this turned out. The barrel's beautiful. I mean, it looked beautiful on this, especially against this this kind of titanium gray in this MDT chassis. And I really like the bead blasted finish. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and stay tuned, because as I said, remember at the beginning we had that box sitting on the table here. That's my new scope. So I'm going to do an unboxing and a mounting of that, and we'll take some looks through it. And then I've got some other videos coming up. So hey, thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate the views, the thumbs ups, and especially those subscriptions. So until next time, shoot straight.